welcome to another episode of Bloom with Wunmi, where I'm speaking and having a wonderful chat with leaders, leading women, leaders in corporate world, in business, or in the community. And today, I'm so excited to be talking with a friend, a wonderful friend, and an exceptional leader, Bukkie Adewuyi. Bukkie is the Vice President of Internal Audit of Prospera Credit Union in BC. Welcome, Bukkie.
Thank you so much, Wunmi. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, thank you. So, Bukkie, let us know a little about you.
Thank you so much, Wunmi. My name, as you said, is Bukkie Adewuyi. I was born and bred in Nigeria. I grew up in the town of Oyo, lived in a number of places while I was growing up, but largely a lot of my childhood, primary school, and secondary education was in Oyo town. I went to university where we were classmates. Obafemi Awolowo University, read accounting, got a BSc. And after that, I have been working with audit firms, started out with PwC in Nigeria, and then migrated to South Africa, where I continued with PwC, spent 15 years in South Africa, worked with PwC, worked with Deloitte, worked with Grant Thornton. And then in 2019, I migrated to Canada. And as you said, I am now in industry, working with Prospera Credit Union in British Columbia, Canada. Along the way, whilst working, got some of my certifications. So chartered accountant, chartered internal auditor, and some other qualifications, including a master's in business admin.
Wow, that's so much. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that, Bukkie. Bukkie, how it's been like working as a woman, working in the corporate world, and I know that you have 3 wonderful kids. So you were busy at home, you were busy in the office work, So how has it been like really combining those 2 worlds together?
Wunmi, I must say it's been a long journey. It has not been an easy one. I think every step of the way has had different kind of challenges, different kind of opportunities. There have been times when I've had to make, difficult decisions. There have been times in my journey, in my career and in my life that, I've thought about, okay, should I choose one over the other? I think back to incidents in my early years in South Africa, when I was still going through nannies, trying to find the support, structure for my family. In a number of incidents, I had one where a nanny left my 8-month-old daughter when she was still young, left her, stole our things and left the child and went away. And it was when my elder daughter was brought back from school and there was no one to take her that I was called and had to go back home, to find my 8-month-old. She had cried and I actually thought the baby was dead. Initially, I actually thought, maybe she had kidnapped the baby as well. But luckily, the baby was not kidnapped. And, that was traumatic. And I remember that day sitting down and thinking, should I just leave this career thing and stay back home and take care of my kids? So many things like that. So challenges on the home front, challenges at work as well. The years I spent in South Africa, I was telling my children yesterday that I was classified as a white woman because in the context of South Africa, I was not Black because I was not originally South African, so I could not be classified as Black. And that made it a bit more difficult, to access the things that a Black person would normally access in that country. So there's been all those kind of challenges, but I think I have just realized because of the background, that I have, if at a point in your life, you've not known where your next meal will come from, which I have been through. So there's always just that inner drive that, I have to keep going. I have to keep doing what I'm doing. I have to excel at what I'm doing. And that is what has really, really kept me. And at a point in my life, I have also learned to just seek help. I've learned that I can't do it all on my own. I've learned to let people help me when I do need help. So those are some of the things that I've kind of gone through and just putting together that life of being a career woman and being a mother as well and a wife.
Wow, wow, wow. That is, oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what I would do if I'm the person getting home and see my 8-month-old baby, the fear, the just, wow, wow. So I'm going to go back and ask you, what was it that made you, because you were thinking about, okay, should you stay back home and take care of the kids or go back to your career? What helped you make the decision you made? What was it that helped you in that decision-making time you were in?
Thanks, Wunmi. Really, it was the knowledge of, where I come from. My mom was a secondary school teacher, and my dad was polygamous, so, a number of wives and a number of children. So I saw my mom struggle so hard, through the years to take care of her 5 children and send all 5 of us to university. And seeing her, all the struggles she went through, I always told myself that I would always make sure that I'm empowered. No matter how responsible a man is, no matter how rich my husband would be, I always said I would always make sure that at any point in time I have that empowerment and that I'm able to take care of my children. And that has been one of the driving forces, in my life. Sometimes people call it blunt trauma, the fear of, I don't know what it is, but it's kind of like a fear of the unknown, but it can be a very real driver. So that, plus there's just this inner desire as well to excel, be a role model for my daughters, especially I have 2 daughters. I always want them, to see a good role model in me, someone who can have a career, still be a good mother to them, and still be a good wife to their father as well. So that's what really drives me.
Well, thank you very much. What I'm hearing now is that when you know your core values, when you know your values, it helps you to make decisions when the chips are down, when things are going on so bad, and you have to make tough decisions. What helps you make decisions in that time is not just what happens then, it's the values you've built over time, it's your stories, your life stories, it's also the vision you have for your life that actually helps you decide that this is what I'm going to do and not this one, even when things are tough, right? Well, thank you very much for sharing that. I know you talk about nanny issues and co, but I always think that for women, we need to build support systems. So what are some support systems that you have in place to help you to be the woman you are today and to go through life?
Thank you so much, Wunmi. So over the years that I spent in South Africa, one of the support systems that I had was eventually a nanny that stayed with us for so many years. She proved to be a support system for me and my kids and my husband. Before her, we went through so many. I mean, I remember one nanny that gave my daughter a hot bowl of rice, and some of the rice fell onto my daughter's lap. And, she still has the blister till tomorrow, But luckily for me, I eventually got one that was really so good. She was like a second mother to my children. So that allowed me to be able to do more. So I could go to networking events as I started going up the career ladder, and I became a senior manager, I became a partner. I had to go for work events. So I could do that because she was there to help me take care of my children. My husband was another very good support system. So even though some of the years of our marriage, he had to work out of town and was not there, but in the times that we lived together, especially when the children were small, he would support me in the night. We take turns, to take care of the children, to feed the children. I'm one of those women where all my 3 children were doing night feeding until they were 3 years. So in the first 3 years of their lives, we never got like a full good night rest. And my husband was quite supportive in terms of that. He's quite hands-on, can take care of the kids even when I'm not there. So those were some of the support structures that I had. I also, because of the nature of South Africa, that the children can go out on their own, I also had to find like reliable service providers, like private transport that could help me take the children to school or pick them from school when I couldn't. So those were some of the support structures that I have. Coming over here to Canada, luckily my girls are not teenagers, so they are now my support structure. So they now support me. And I remember the first few years, the first few months in Canada was really tough and hard. I was missing my friends in South Africa. I was missing, my role in South Africa and the things that I did. And my daughters actually ended up being the ones, supporting me and, just being there for me in those times. So that's how I've been able to kind of navigate through my career and being able to still build it and still being able to hold the fort at home.
Wow, thank you very much. We all need support systems. And then if you're listening to us and you're wondering, okay, how do I build my support system? You just need to know what you need. What do you need? And what is available. In some places, maybe not a nanny, maybe it's a childcare or daycare, home, day homes, or friends. Sometimes you just look at friends. If you have family members close by, who can be of help, who can help you when you're not available, right? We just need to look at what is available in our surrounding, in our community, and just tap into that. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing, Bukkie. So let's go back to your professional journey. There's this proverbial glass ceiling, right? So how has that been for you? And how have you been able to progress from one stage to the other in the corporate world?
Thank you, Wunmi. The glass ceiling is real. And I mean, more so for someone like me, when you think back to what I said about being classified as a white woman in a Black country, you can just imagine what that means. But something that I have always had going for me was really my dedication, my passion, and my hard work. I quickly realized, initially when I go to South Africa that, okay, this is a country where I need to work twice as hard. This is a country where if I really want to excel, I need to distinguish myself, what makes me stand apart. And I remember a certain time in my early years when I knew that I was earning like half of what my peers were earning. At that point in time, I had found out, okay, what do I need? When I was in PwC in Nigeria, I was in tax. And when I moved to South Africa, the office that I had joined didn't have tax. Plus, I didn't want to do tax anymore anyway, because I felt it wasn't global. I wanted something global. And that's when I discovered internal audit. So the first thing I did was, okay, what do I even need to excel? At that point in my life, I had my Nigerian ACCA, my ICANN, and I was working on I had my Nigerian, ACA, my ICANN, and I was working on my ACCA. So I finished my ACCA, I think 6 months after I got to South Africa. And then I was like, okay, what do I need to excel in this CIA, in this internal audit? And I was told, okay, CIA. So I did that as well. So at that point in time, in terms of qualifications, I had everything that I needed. And then in terms of experience, I was moving so fast. At a point at my level, I was kind of the only supervisor, writing proposals as well as delivering work. But I knew like I was being paid half of what other people were being paid. Luckily for me, and you might have seen one of the posts I wrote on LinkedIn, luckily for me, God has also blessed me that I had good people put on my way. One of my partners noticed that, and in the performance review cycle, I was not even due for review, but she doubled my salary because she could just see why is she earning like half of what other people are earning. So the fact that I had put in the work to get the certifications that I need, put in the work to get the experience that I need, the fact that I was working twice as hard, distinguishing myself, doing what other people at my level were not even yet doing, right? If there was a proposal, everyone wanted me on it. If there was a job, everyone wanted me to be on their team. That really helped me. It was not easy because remember at this point in my life, I had young children. When I would read for my exams, I would be reading 4 a.m. in the morning. I had probably gone to bed at 10 p.m. So it was not like it was something easy, but I knew where I wanted to get to. I knew what I wanted to do with my career. And I knew that there could be no shortcuts if I wanted to get there. So I kept putting everything that I could into what I was doing. And that was really what helped me to kind of set myself aside. And people always say, your career moved so fast, but I also put so much. And I think God was so kind to me because a lot of things just seemed to work well and align, well with some of the plans that I also had for myself. So I must just really acknowledge that grace and favor on my life as well.
Wow, thank you very much for sharing that. It's just so, it's amazing. I was just looking at some things you said. I'm going to bring up one that said you look at where you were, and you were asking yourself, what do you need to do to get to like to be promoted, to get to your ideal place, what you want to be. It's more like understanding, okay, this is where I am right now, and I want to be, let's say, B. How do I get there? And I think many women, we don't take time to do that. Looking at ourselves and deciding, this is where I am, I want to get to point B. What do I need to do to get there? And putting in the work and make sure you get to where you're going to. Thank you very much. I also said there's no shortcut. That is true. No shortcut. So we just need to put in the work, distinguish yourself. So yeah, how were you able to manage that emotions, knowing that I'm working twice as hard and I'm earning half of what my colleagues are earning? What was it like emotionally, and showing up at work every time, knowing this fact? How was it for you?
For me, it was really difficult. So many times, I would tell my husband, this is what is going on. And he would say, okay, you know what, things will work out. And I didn't let that discourage me too much. And I think that's sometimes the mistake we make. We get sucked into the negativity of what is going on around us. And that prevents us from seeing the bright future or the light at the end of the tunnel. So when I mentor people, and I always say to them, hang in there, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It was not easy. Some days, I will feel sad, I'll feel cheated, but I kept chipping at it. And I remember the day that I got that letter. I had told my husband, oh, they are doing performance reviews, but I've only been some months here, I'm not even due. And then I got the letter, and I opened the letter, and I saw the salary. And I knew, that was kind of what the salary should be. And then I sat down, and then I quickly called my husband, and I said, something just happened. And I was like, what's that? And I said, I got this letter, and this is what is in the letter. And he was like, congratulations. And I was like, maybe there's a mistake. And he was like, what do you mean there's a mistake? You've always told me that, this is what is going on. So God just decided to use this person to give you what you truly deserve. So just be happy and take it. But it's all about when you are in the situation that you know that is not where you should be. Have faith. Take your case to God. Keep working hard. Keep your head up. Keep shining. Do not be overwhelmed and overtaken by the negativity. Keep your eyes on the light at the end of the tunnel, because there is always light at the end of the tunnel. I tell my mentors sometimes that, you see me in this big car now, this nice car. If I tell you that there was a time in my life when I sat by the side of the road, beside my broken car, and I cried, right? Because the car was broken down. I was on my way to a client meeting. There was no way to get to the client meeting. My boss was calling me, the client is waiting for me. I didn't know what to do, and I just started crying on the side of the highway. Wunmi, it was not a walk in the park. It was not an easy journey. And I always tell people that I was not always where you're seeing me now, but I had my eyes on the end game. I had God on my side. I was prayerful. I was faithful. I kept the faith, and I kept working at it. I didn't allow my circumstances at a point in time to pull me in or to pull me down. And that is really what has kept me.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. I really love what the things you're talking about, because we just need to put our eyes on the goal. And what I hear is resilience. How women, we need to build resilience to go after our goals, to go to where we see ourselves. And another thing I hear is vision, because when you don't have a vision, you don't even know where you're going. So what are you chasing after? What are you going after? What's your goal? So you need to have a goal, you need to have a vision, and you need to be resilient to go after that, to make sure that you get to the point, to the end point that you have for yourself, or the goal you have for yourself. Right. Thank you very much. There's this, for most people are promoted mostly for of their technical skills. But then when you start leading people, you realize that you need more than technical skills, that the people skills, there's other things that comes into play. So how would you say this has helped you as in your play out in your own life? Yes, you're good at what you do, but the other side of people, how have you been able to merge the two together to be a good and exceptional leader?
Thank you, Wunmi. That has been another journey for me. And as you asked me that question, I think back to my early days as a manager and as a senior manager. You know, I had mentees that I would put together a proposal for them to be promoted or, you know, to be compensated differently. And I'll go into, we call them roundtables then, in my days in the audit firms. So we'll go into these roundtables and there will be other managers and directors and partners in there, and we'll talk about these people. And I came out of a lot of those meetings in the earlier years with tears in my eyes, real tears, like I would be crying because somebody that I wanted to be promoted was not promoted. I've always been someone that is invested in people. My mentees still keep in touch with me. Some of them still call me up to tell me the kind of, you know, decisions they're making, and I would advise them, and, you know, we would do some kind of analysis. Why do you want to go to this place? What is there for you? Okay, but what is really your plan for the future? How does it align? So I was very invested in them. And I would come out of those meetings crying because I didn't get what I wanted for them. A lot of emotional immaturity in me at that point in time. And I knew, and this is something I'm talking about over 12, 13 years ago. And over time, I have just learned to build that emotional maturity. I have learned to compose myself, put my points forward in a way that is logical, in a way that it's more of a business case, the why, how, when, right? And I've also learned to do a lot of fact finding, learn to take a step back, listen to the other person, listen to understand, and not always listen to respond. So it's been a journey. I think I've also been blessed in terms of some of the firms that I've worked for, and the kind of management development programs that they've put me on, that I've been able to learn, grow with other leaders, and just build that emotional maturity to be where I am now. Where, when people see me now and they say, you're so matured, you're so calm. It's been a long journey. I wasn't always like this. And you can imagine me coming out of business meetings, crying and, being emotional. So it's really been a journey, and I'm grateful that I'm now at the point when, that all works well together. I think also, and this is something that as women, we need to know and we need to leverage on. There is a power in our feminism, right? The fact that we are softer beings actually gives us an edge when we are leaders, because we care differently. We care deeply. And I find that part of me that is a mother is always coming out and helping my leadership skills. So I'm always taking an interest in the people that I work with, over and above what they bring just to the work. So to me, they're not just workers, they're not just resources, they are people, they're my family at work. And I find that that is an empowerment that we women have that we should leverage on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because what I hear is the fact that, yes, professional development is necessary, you have to do it, but you don't just focus on professional development, you also need to focus on your personal development. Because you're going your professional, you have the right skills, you're learning and getting the right certifications, but you need to develop yourself so you can be a better person, be able to relate with people better. And then just take me to ask you this question. So what role does being self-aware play in helping you be a better leader or a better person?
Self-awareness is so important. Self-awareness is so important. And if you go through life's journey and become a leader without being self-aware, then you are at a disadvantage. I'm part of a female program for development of ladies currently, and I happen to win a raffle to talk to a leadership coach. And when I had my session with her, one of the things she told me was, oh God, you are so self-aware. Where do we take this conversation now? And again, as I say, that's also a journey, right? That's because there is a tendency as human beings that we always see what is good in ourselves. And most of the times we don't know where our weaknesses is. On the flip side, as women, I find that sometimes we focus too much on what is not good in us. So as women, we actually tend to be more self-aware, but our self-awareness sometimes becomes a disempowerment because we are not focusing on the 80% things that we are so good at. We are focusing on the 20% that we are not, but there has to be a balance. So it's important for us to be aware of the 80% where we are strong. It's also important for us to be aware of the 20% where we are not strong. Now, what is critical is how we balance out that knowledge. We must make sure that we have strategies to leverage on the 80% where we are strong, whilst we also then develop strategies to work on the 20% that we are not strong. I know, I'm self-aware in terms of where my weaknesses were and where my weaknesses are now. So like I told you, one of my weaknesses before was that emotional maturity, especially when it comes to business dealings. And I just had to work that journey of, closing that gap and helping myself to. There's other aspects of myself that even as I'm growing older, I'm discovering, like I just discovered that I don't like bridges, right? I never knew that, so I just discovered that when I'm driving over bridges, I'm scared, and I'm like, I never knew I was scared of heights, and I'm actually now discovering that I am. And what does that mean, right, for me? So I'm also thinking of, okay, what does it mean in the context of where I am and where I need to be? So it's really important that we be self-aware, but we must never let the part that is not working for us in terms of our awareness overcloud, all the strong aspects that we have as leaders. We must leverage both.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Self-awareness is so key, because what all the stories you've been saying, I've just been hearing the fact that you were self-aware, you knew who you were, you knew what you have, and you knew what you need to do, right? Because self-aware it's continuous. It's continuous. It's knowing where where am I today, right now? How am I even feeling? So, and where is this emotions coming from? What is it that is hindering me from going forward? And asking yourself those questions and getting ways to help yourself to become better it's a part of self-awareness. It's just knowing that. And getting ways to go forward. Yeah, I believe you've worked with a lot of women in your career. So what would you say you've seen as one or some hindrances for women to rise and lead in the corporate world?
Thank you, Wunmi. I think one of the hindrances we have as women, especially for younger women when we are still young, is that feeling of being overwhelmed, right? A lot of times we want to be superwoman, and it's okay to not be a superwoman. It's okay to know when you need help. It's okay to look for the help. And like we said earlier, it's looking for the right help. I always paid my nanny when I was South Africa. I paid her premium. I took care of her, gave her all the leave she needed, let her have time for her own family too. And that's how I was able to keep her for so many years. I think she was with us for like 10 years, living with us as part of the family, treated her as part of the family. So I think that's one of the hindrances women have, just that feeling of being overwhelmed and thinking that they have to choose. Also, I think also societal pressure. I was still reading something on LinkedIn this morning about when you're a career woman and being made to feel that you're neglecting your children. We already feel guilty enough, right? We don't need society judging us. And one thing that I love that the writer said was, career women, we are actually building generational power and wealth for our children. And that's really what we're doing. We're trying to inspire the next generation of girls to see what they can do, to see that there doesn't have to be limitations, that they can access the same opportunities that men can access. But that societal pressure of, if you're a career woman, then you're not taking care of your children, you're not taking care of your home, you're not taking care of your husband. That societal pressure is also a hindrance to women. And we need the society to ease up on that pressure and just support us and let us be. My husband didn't have to in our marriage, wash clothes or, do whatever he doesn't want to do. I just had to make sure that it's done, but I didn't necessarily have to do it myself as long as I made sure that it's done, right? And that's the power of being able to look for support as a woman. I think another hindrance that we have as women is we, I would say, second guess ourselves too much. I have a lot of my male allies and colleagues telling me that as men, when they have 50% of what is needed for a role, they go for it. As women, we have 80% of what is needed. We are still looking for the 20%. We always believe that until we get 100%, we can't go for a role. And by the time we get the 100%, the role is no longer there. So as women, we sometimes lack that courage, and we need to have that courage. We need to be more bold. We need to stop second guessing ourselves. I tell you, a lot of men, they learn on the job. I saw it with my elder brother. He kept learning, he kept growing, and he kept making a success of his career. And in my head, I'm like, women should also be able to do this. So I think that's one of the hindrances we have. Another hindrance that I've seen women, especially, also young women have, is when you are not with the right supportive partner. It is a big hindrance for so many women. I've seen so many women drop out of their career because the man said they cannot work, or the man said it's about time for you to stop working because we're just not getting the attention that we need from you. How about you support her so that she can be able to also build her own career, right? So many of our family friends wonder, okay, why are you working? Why do you need to work? It's not like my husband can't take care of the family. He can, but he understands the need for me to have my own personal fulfillment through my career. And he never stands in the way of that. He's supportive. I always tell people, if I think I'm a 5, my husband thinks I'm a 9. And even for a woman, that is more than enough encouragement for you. He never stands in my way. If I can say I'm out of town now with my work, right? Because we're not in the same location, and he's quite fine with that. He's pursuing his career, I'm pursuing mine. We're both happy. We make the marriage work. The kids are happy. That is what is important. So that's another hindrance that I see for women. So if I should summarize what I'm saying, our own confidence in our ability as a woman and as a professional, the societal pressures that we have on us, the quality of support that we get from our partners, and maybe the last thing I would say would also be the environment we find ourselves. Some of us are lucky enough to find ourselves in an environment where we can actually have allies, build allies, who can see the potential in us. Some women are not. But I would just encourage any woman who feels they're in an environment where they don't feel supported, where they don't feel they have allies, to see how they can get out of that environment. Find women to mentor you, find a mentor, find other women to tell you how they did it, and leverage into that.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Wow, thank you. So the next question I have is just going to ask about how has building relationships helped you in your career growth and becoming a leader? Once relationships, I mean, mentors, mentees, sponsors, advisors, people that you could really go to and that will help you. And sometimes even people that could see your blind spot, something that you're not seeing, and say, well, this is this, and really push you to go for what you really want to go, that you need to go for. Yeah.
Oh, Wunmi, thank you so much for that question. That is a very key, important part of building a career. And I would go back a little bit in answering that question, because I really want ladies as well to get some things from what I've been through. So in the early years of my career, when I was still with the audit firms, one of the things I started doing in terms of building relationships and building visibility for myself, that is so important as a career woman. Have the courage to build visibility. I started reaching out, working with the Institute of Internal Auditors. I started off as a volunteer with the region in Johannesburg, back in South Africa then. And so from there, just being a member of the regional committee, I became the secretary. And from there, I became the deputy governor, and from there, I became the governor. And later on, I was invited to sit on the board of the Leadership Academy for that, for the IIA. And I was also then asked to become the chair. So I was initially the deputy chair of the Occupational Qualifications Committee, and then I became the chair of the Occupational Committee. Now, through those years, what I'm talking about, I think I started getting involved with them in 2009 or 10. And I was involved with them until I left South Africa in 2019. Through those years, I got to know so many people, just from the programs we would organize at regional level. And, we would reach out to a company and we would need them to maybe come and speak at an event. And by the time I became, a partner at GT then, I knew so many people. I had built, quite a wealth of relationships along the line. And through my work with the IIA and eventually my work with the ACCA as well, I was one of the panel members of the ACCA. I got invited to become a panel judge on the CFO forum. So my participation in one thing, kept giving me visibility to other things, kept getting me invited to other things, right? And that's how I kind of leverage my relationship building and my visibility. And eventually, when I became a partner as well, being a partner, you need to bring in business, grow your own book of business and all that. Those relationships served me well. I can say in my last year in SA, I did not even have to go out too much to look for work. The work was coming. People were approaching and saying, write a proposal, we need the services, we need this. All that came from relationship. So as a woman from the early years of your career, look at when I started building those relationships. Look at when I started volunteering. So many women would say, I don't have time. Make the time. I remember then people used to ask me, where do you get this time? It wasn't like I had time in excess. I was still doing my day job. I was still taking care of my children. And by the way, my children didn't suffer. I was still at every school event I needed to be at. Most evenings, if there's parents meetings, I'll be there. If my children have awards, I will be there. If they have sports, I will be there. So I still managed to make it all happen. It was not easy, but like I said, I knew what I was building. And again, here in Canada, I continue to do that. I continue to get involved where I can with organizations and start building that visibility for myself as a female leader.
Well, thank you very much. Relationships are key. Relationships are key. You can't do without them. For you to build anything of importance, you need people. That reminds me of this Yoruba saying that "Eniyan laṣọ mi," meaning that people are my covering, so to speak. So you need people around you to actually help you succeed in business, in corporate world, and even the community. No matter what you're doing, you can't do it alone. Actually, you can't do it alone. You need people. You need to be intentional in building relationships upwards. That's like your seniors, mentors, advisors, coaches, and even people that you're mentoring. And then, of course, people on the same level with you, friends, advocates, people that will speak for you when you're not there. So relationship is key. And I know that Bukkie is very good at that. I don't know how she does it. She reach out to her friends from university days, and she's so good at that. So that's why I had to ask you that question, how about really relationships? I know that she goes out of her way to really, really make sure everybody feels special. So thank you very much, Bukkie. Looking at time, but I want to ask you 2 questions more. You've spent most of your working years or career time outside of your home country and being like an immigrant or an expatriate or somewhat different. How was that? How was it working in a place that is not home, in quote, where you're different? How was that challenge? I was able to walk through that challenge. Yeah.
Wunmi, thanks so much for that question. So it has not been easy. It has not been easy. And I know there was a point in my earlier years, I think in the first 2 years in South Africa, when I wanted to go back home. I missed home so much. I was so homesick. And but my husband kept saying to me, that's like taking 2 steps forward and then, 2 steps backwards, because he wasn't ready to go back home. So I knew that, it wasn't really on the cards. There are times in my career where I've, stopped and look at my friends and my colleagues back home and how they're progressing, and I've asked myself, if I was back home, could my career have even moved faster than it did? And there have been days when I would be like, if you don't pursue or if you don't go through a door, you can never know where it leads. So that's only really thinking. And then there are days when I've been filled with gratitude. Like you said, I spent so many years out of my own country. I left Nigeria in 2005, and I haven't lived or worked there since then, right? And I've been outside there, and God has been faithful, and I've been growing and doing well in my career. And even when I did probably the boldest thing I've ever done in my life, leaving South Africa at the peak of my career. I remember so many of my friends in South Africa and even colleagues, even clients, taking me for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and asking me, what is the problem? What are you looking for? And in my head, in my heart, I just kept saying, I just want to explore this, see what else, is out there, and then coming to Canada again. And God has been so wonderful that I've been able to continue on my career trajectory, but it has not been easy. At any point in time, you would know that you are different. Like I said to you earlier, that I was a white woman in South Africa. Here in Canada, yes, I'm a Black person, but I'm a minority. So there's always that, you're not, you different. But what I have done is I have found strength in that difference. I have found strength in me being different. I have taken it and I have decided I am going to use this to my own advantage. I am not going to wallow in the fact that this is not my home. I am going to make this places my home. And that is what I've been doing, and it has been working for me. And I will encourage every woman, you might not find yourself where you want to be. You may not find yourself in your comfort zone. How about you step out of that zone? How about you make the best out of it? Ask yourself, what do I need to thrive in this environment? What do I need to reach the top in this environment? And go for it. You can do it.
Well, thank you very much, Bukkie. I love, what do I need to thrive in this environment? You need to ask yourself, because you have to be, okay, I'll ask this question later. Yeah, well, yeah, I'll go about saying something. I'm going to wait. You have to know that this is a difference and put in the work. You said something, use your difference to your advantage. Use your difference to your advantage, because many times we look at it as negative, as this is why this has not happened, this is why this has not happened. Well, how about you reframe that story? You reframe that situation and tell yourself a different story about what is happening to you and make it better. So my final question, hopefully, is about adapting, which I've heard in your story. But I want to talk about adaptability and how it's so important for a leading woman to learn that skill of adaptability. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you so much, Wunmi. That is so important. I was on a DEI panel yesterday, and I was talking about that same topic of, us adapting. And it's really key, especially, coming to Canada, their work culture is so different, I find. And I spoke about my early days when I worked with an audit firm here in Canada. And I saw people, going into the office on a Saturday, and I didn't know why. Nobody told me why or that I needed to. And, it took me time going around and asking for me to find out that it was because it was the busiest tax season. So they put in extra hours and then they get it back in the summer. Now, where I come from in Africa, they will tell you straight out. And even when I went to the partner said, do what is convenient for you. In Africa, the boss will say to me, yes, this is why we're doing this. Just come in. I need you to come in on a Saturday. But their culture is not like that. Their culture is soft. They don't like to be confrontational. They like to go about things in a sandwich manner. And I've had to learn that as well. And I'm still learning, because even sometimes now, when I have conversations with people, I'll be like, oh, hope I was soft enough. Hope I didn't call that person out. So it's a learning journey, and you have to keep looking at your environment, observing how they are, observing what the culture is, and then drawing yourself into that, leveraging into that, and making sure that you can do that. Similar to in Africa, we say it as it is. Here you can't say it as it is, right? They are more sensitive, they're softer. So those are things that you just need to adapt, and it just makes you a better leader. So now people can't say, oh, she doesn't have Canadian experience, because I'm adapting so quickly to the Canadian work culture. So that can only be to your advantage when you're adaptable.
Thank you very much. We need to adapt every time, because actually the world is actually changing daily. I'm sure we can talk about that forever, how we need to, even with our parenting, how it's so different from how we were parenting, you know, how our own parents related with us, and life itself is just changing. We need to keep adapting and becoming better so that we can also grow our leadership and grow ourselves. So finally, so what is your closing word for a younger lady that wants to grow a career, that wants to grow as a leader? What would you say to our audience that listens to us today?
Thank you, Wunmi. To all our audience, our leading ladies out there, young ladies, what I would say is, wherever you are now, that is your money. Do not look at this person is ahead of me, this person is behind me. It is your own race. Sit down, do your own wheel of life. How do you want your life to be in 10 years, 20 years? Plan for it. What do you need to succeed? Do you need a mentor? Do you need to study more? Do you need to, get more support for yourself? Find those things. Don't try to go the journey alone. Look for people to walk the journey with you. A supportive partner, a supportive community, family, friends, work colleagues. Ask for help, ask for support. Keep your eye on the light at the end of the tunnel. I promise you, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Just at any point in time, make sure that you have a plan. Have a plan and go to God in prayers. Take your plan to God and align your faith to God. And let me tell you, when things do not work out exactly the way you've planned it, have faith. God has a bigger plan. There have been times in my life when I feel like my plan was derailed, but I actually found out that my plan was not good enough for God. He had a better plan for me. So that is the nugget that I have for you. Keep at it. Have a plan for your life. Have a vision for yourself and work towards that vision, and have people support you in achieving that vision. Thank you, Wunmi.
Thank you very much. And this is it for us, this episode of Bloom with Wunmi, where I'm speaking with exceptional leading women. Thank you for joining us, and take care. God bless. See you in the next episode. Bye.